You know that old promise, right? Get a good education, land a desk job, and you're pretty much set for life. For decades, that was the path to a stable middle-class career. But what happens when the keyboard starts typing back? The fourth industrial revolution is here, and it's not just coming for factory jobs this time. Nope, it's aiming squarely at the white-collar world. Okay, let's get right into this. And no, that's not a line from some sci-fi movie. That is a direct prediction from the head of Microsoft's AI division, Mustafa Suleyman. We're talking lawyers, accountants, project managers, the very jobs that have been the backbone of the professional world. He thinks we are right on the edge of AI performing at a human level for most of these tasks. And the timeline? It's not a decade away. It's not even 5 years. He's saying 18 months. Okay, so that sounds kind of crazy, right? It's so easy to just brush that off as more Silicon Valley hype. But what if it's not? What if the evidence that this is already happening is hiding in plain sight, right in the job market data? Let's take a look at the numbers. So, our first stop is the United Kingdom, because some new research suggests the future is getting here way faster than anyone thought. And honestly, it feels like a warning shot for the rest of the world. So, the investment bank Morgan Stanley just dropped this study, and the big finding is pretty shocking. Over the last year, job losses in Britain that can be traced back to AI have been happening at twice the rate of the international average. Companies are literally reporting they're more productive with fewer people. This confirms it isn't just a tough economy, it's a deep structural shift being driven by tech. And look, this isn't some tiny statistical blip we're talking about. An 8% net job loss in the UK, compared to 4% for the international average. That's a huge difference. It shows that whatever's going on, it's happening at warp speed in Britain, and it paints a really stark picture of just how big this problem is. And maybe the most alarming part of this whole trend isn't just the overall number, but who it's affecting the most. It's the people just trying to get started. That first job out of college, the apprenticeship, that entry-level gig, that whole first rung on the career ladder is starting to just crumble. A completely separate study from the job site Azuna puts a hard number on it. Since tools like ChatGPT really hit the scene back in 2022, the number of entry-level jobs in the UK has plummeted by almost a third. A third! Think about that. We're not just looking at mass unemployment down the line, we're looking at the potential for mass inexperience, because the path to even get into the professional world is being erased. All right, now let's hop across the Atlantic to the US. Over there, the official numbers seem to paint a totally different, much rosier picture. But if you dig just a little bit beneath the surface, you find a story that feels like it's being carefully managed, and one that hides a much more worrying reality. You know how it goes, right? Every month, the big jobs report comes out and the headlines start flashing all over the news. The latest one for January 2026 was no different. At first glance, it looks solid, a sign of a strong economy. But the real story wasn't in the headline. Oh no, it was buried deep in the footnotes. And this is where it all just comes apart. The headline celebrated 130,000 new jobs. Awesome. But in that same report, the Bureau of Labor Statistics basically admitted their numbers for the entire previous year, all of 2025, were dramatically wrong. They quietly erased almost 900,000 jobs they had previously told everyone existed. So after a full year of positive headlines about a decent job market, what was the actual final number? Just 181,000 jobs for the entire year. To put that into perspective, that's down from over 1.4 million jobs the year before. This wasn't a slowdown, it was a screeching halt. I saw one online analysis that just put it perfectly. For an entire year, the U.S. economy created basically no meaningful employment. The whole story of a strong labor market was built on data that turned out to be, fantastically overblown. So the big economic data tells one part of the story. But what does all this feel like for the actual people caught in the middle of it? Well, for a growing number of professionals, the answer has been to do something radical. Just ditch their degrees and careers altogether to pick up a trade. Yeah, we're seeing this trend people are calling the great job swap. These are folks who spent years building careers in fields like writing or law or corporate management, and now they're completely retraining for jobs they think are AI-proof. Jobs that need a human touch, physical skill, and in-person problem solving. They're literally trading keyboards for calluses. I mean, just look at these examples. A writer becomes a therapist, an academic editor becomes a baker, a solicitor, that's a lawyer in the UK, decides not to even pursue her final qualification. A health and safety professional with 15 years of experience starts all over again as an electrical engineer. These aren't small career pivots, these are life-changing decisions driven by a real fear of becoming obsolete. And for those who try to adapt and work with the AI, well, the reality can be just soul-crushing. Take Jacqueline Bowman, a former writer. She was offered work editing AI-generated content for half her old salary. She found that instead of saving her time, it took twice as long because she had to rewrite huge chunks of text that were just complete fabricated nonsense. It wasn't really a job, it was a cleanup operation. This level of disruption forces us to ask some really profound, really deep questions about how our whole economy should even work. And this debate isn't on the fringes anymore. It is rapidly hitting the mainstream. This is the fundamental question, isn't it? If one AI can do the work of 1,000 analysts or programmers or writers, who gets all that value? Does it all just flow up to the handful of people who own the AI, creating the biggest wealth gap in history? Or does society have some kind of claim to all that new productivity? One of the biggest solutions people keep talking about is universal basic income, or UBI. The idea is pretty simple. If good jobs become scarce, the government gives every citizen a regular, no-strings-attached payment to make sure they can still live. It's a concept that tech leaders, like OpenAI's Sam Altman, have been pushing for years. And this is where the politics get really interesting. This whole idea of taxing robot labor, or the massive profits from AI to pay for things like UBI, is gaining real traction. The logic is simple. If people don't have paychecks, they can't buy any of the stuff the AI is helping to make. And we're seeing this bizarre political alignment, with people from the progressive left like Bernie Sanders and the populist right like Ron DeSantis both sounding the alarm about AI and demanding some kind of control. So we are no longer just speculating about the future of work. We are living through it right now. The displacement is already showing up in the data, it's being felt in people's lives, and it's being debated in the halls of power. That old promise that a good education gets you a stable career is breaking down in real time. The real question for all of us is, what comes next?